Okay, in this video we're gonna see Cisco ISE deployment model. Keep in mind we can deploy Cisco ISE two different way. One is standalone and the other one is distributed. Then distributed is divided in three things. One is small, second is medium, and third one is large. So then Cisco ISE and distributed deployment model, we have three type: small, medium, and large. The other one is standalone. Standalone we only use in our lab purpose, maybe for test purpose, which play all the role and only one device. So if I make this one as standalone, so now I'm a standalone single one device, one box, one node, and running all personas. But the main thing of ISE deployment model, we are basically talking about distributed. So we have three different choice: small, medium, and large. Also the name suggests, small for small network, medium for medium network, and large for a large enterprise network. You need to decide which model is best for your network. So when you deploy each and everything in single Cisco ISE node, we call them standalone. And standalone running administration, policy services, monitoring, and PS grid, all four personas. So in this case, I am running all four persona. Let me save it, because it's a single box, and if I click here, so I am running all four personas in a single box for my lab purpose, for test purpose. And there is no backup solution, only single box. Normally, as I told you, we can use for lab purpose, for test purpose. Suppose a company want to test something before they buy a Cisco ISE, then you can deploy single standalone box and you can show them, because there is a 90 days license and they can use for test purpose, and later on they can buy Cisco ISE nodes. So this is a separate deployment model, which is a standalone. But if you are running more than one Cisco ISE, then that is called distributed deployment, and this is our target for today lecture, because normally we are talking about distributed deployment. And distributed deployment support failure and also improve performance, because now in distributed deployment you are running more than one box. So it means you have a backup solution, you have a failure solution, and you distribute the persona on different boxes. So definitely it will improve the performance, because you are running more than one ISE node to distribute it the persona, to distribute the role, to provide a backup solution. So in shortcut, we have two type of deployment: standalone and distributed. Standalone running each and everything, no backup solution, no nothing, and distributed you are running more than one box. So if I summarize them, so deployment model standalone is minimum and maximum we have only one box, and it support up to 20,000 radius session. And small network and smart deployment model, we can run minimum one and maximum two. It means two boxes. And medium, minimum three and maximum up to 7. And large deployment, we have minimum 5 and maximum up to 54 boxes, ISE nodes. So as I told you, let's discuss one by one all these. Standalone deployment is only one box running all the personas. Single node deployment, standalone deployment. All persona reside on a single appliance, and I show you already. It can be a single physical box and it can be a virtual box. And this single box device is responsible to perform all the function, all four persona. There is in standalone deployment method, there is no redundancy available. Yes, for sure. If you lose connectivity, there will be no authentication and authorization to work. Definitely, because it's a single box. If the box is not available, definitely you will be disconnected. If a ISE node lost power, again there is no authentication and no authorization to work. Maximum number of device support is round about 10,000. Single box can support up to 10,000 devices to connect to the network. This method is not used commonly because there is no redundancy available in standalone deployment. This type of deployment we normally recommend only for test, solution or in lab, and obviously normally we use in our lab. This is a standalone device which running all four persona, PSN, PAN, MNT and PX grid. In our lab we have also the same. So all four persona is running by this standalone device which is called standalone. Okay, got it. Next is small deployment. As I told you, small deployment is maximum 2 ISE nodes, which we discussed above. It consists of 2 ISE node maximum, and both of which run all the 3 require ISE persona. Basically there are 4 persona, but normally we are not running PX grid normally. Whenever required we on PX grid. Keep in mind, if I say 3 persona all the time, so my main target is administration, monitoring and policy services. I will not talk about PX grid all the time because it's a separate persona for specific services. Not all the time we are using PX grid. So that's why I say that both the box will run all 3 required persona. It means the primary node provide all the configuration, authentication and policy function, and secondary node work as a backup, because in small deployment we have 2 boxes. One box play a role of primary, another play a role of secondary. You can divide this one, but all 3 services. So all these 3 services is primary and all these 3 services in another box is a secondary. I know there is no secondary concept for policy service, but just saying that you can understand. Basically primary secondary is only in these 2 personas. And let me show you, by the way, it is better to show you from the picture. So here I have primary PAN and primary MNT. PSN is active. There is no concept of primary and secondary. I would say active. I need to write active, by the way, here. So this side I have, keep in mind this is one box, because in in small deployment we have only 2 boxes. This is one box and this is another box. This box is play primary PAN and primary MNT. Second box is playing secondary PAN and secondary MNT. And PSN, because there is no primary and secondary, so I would say this is active. They are playing role of PSN and this one is also play role of PSN. So two boxes deployment. One box is like a primary, another box is like a secondary for the same services, personas. But you can do it mix and match, I would say. You can do such thing as well. Here PAN is primary, but MNT is secondary. And here PAN is secondary and MNT is primary. Here both were primary and here both were secondary. But what I done, I miss a mix match, I would say. That this PAN is primary and MNT will secondary. But in the second box, PAN, because PAN was already primary here, so it's become secondary. And MNT was secondary here, it become primary. So you have two boxes and it's up to you. And I have a table as well. One Cisco ISE node, the first box. One ISE node will play role of primary PAN, primary MNT, and PSN and PX grade. Because in PSN and PX grade we don't have a concept of primary secondary, so I will write directly. Now another box, Cisco ISE node 2, will play role of secondary PAN, secondary MNT, plus PSN and PX grade. So you see one box is primary, another is secondary, and this is the first picture. Now you can do it in this way as well. If one box play primary PAN but secondary MNT with PSN and PX grade persona. Now second node play secondary PAN and primary MNT with PSN and PX grade. You get what I'm saying? So now it's up to you how you can use them. You have two boxes and you have two different methods to deploy. Either make one box totally primary and make another box totally secondary. Either make one box primary secondary and another box also primary secondary. For two services, basically two personas. And that's what I written here. So if a primary become disconnected, secondary will play the role of primary. If a primary lose connectivity, it's okay. Second box will play a role of primary. So in short, two node in the same data center, all node run all persona, all node run all services. So this type of deployment designed for small LAN and low latency. When generally recommend is not more than 300 millisecond round trip latency between the nodes. If you want to deploy them, normally nowadays we deploy them on WAN, what is called SD-WAN. So the latency should be not more than 300 milliseconds. Suppose if you have branches, because you can deploy them in a one data center, and also this small network can be split as well in different data center. And normally nowadays I saw and we deploy them in different branches using SD-WAN. So if I say that in this type of deployment, all persona will be running on the same node just like a standalone box deployment. But the difference between standalone and this small deployment is that one node is primary PAN, primary MNT with PSN and PX grade running node A, while another node play secondary PAN, secondary MNT with PSN and PX grade. So you divide the role. And also, as I told you, you can do mismatch combination as well. So this is the mismatch combination. and also make one device primary, another secondary, either mismatch. Mix match, sorry. So this was small deployment, only 2 boxes, and it's up to you how you can deploy them. Now coming to another deployments, medium deployment. And medium deployment, you may run up to 7 total ISE node. Keep in mind 7, which we discussed above. 2 node will run both the PAN and MNT persona. Out of 7 boxes, out of 7 nodes, 2 will run PAN and MNT personas, and up to 5 node will be dedicated for PSN, because there is no such concept of primary, secondary and PSN. I'm repeating this again and again. You can do in such way, you can place PAN and MNT node in a data center, and you can put the PSN everywhere in your locations. You can put them in a same data center PSN, and you can put them some other branches or campuses as well. You can add more nodes as well if you want, if your company expand. So these are the combination in the case of medium deployment. Now we have 7 boxes. So first box, first node, it will be primary and primary MNT. Second node will become secondary PAN and secondary MNT. You get what I'm saying? This is one way. And then the third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh box will become PSN1, PSN2, PSN3, PSN4, PSN5. So you distribute the personas. One box play only 2 personas, primary PAN and primary MNT. Second node play secondary PAN and secondary MNT. And rest of 5 boxes become PSN only. It will play a role of PSN only. This is called medium deployment. But again, you have a choices. So let me tell you, right now I have 1 box. This is altogether 1 box. So 1 box play PAN and MNT. Suppose if I say that uncheck this one, let me make primary and let me uncheck these 2. So now I play only role of administration and monitoring primary. So that's what I say, that 1 box play primary PAN and primary MNT. This 1 box. Second box play primary PAN, secondary PAN and secondary MNT. If I make another, right now I don't have another box to show you, we will do in lab. And I will make that box administration secondary, here secondary, and at monitoring secondary. So second box play role of secondary PAN and secondary MNT. And then I have 5 PSN separately. So this service will be run without these by 5 boxes. This is one type. Second, again we can do like this one. We can do mix match as well. How? We will make first box primary PAN, but we will make them secondary MNT. And we will make second box secondary PAN but primary MNT. And 5 other boxes is definitely nothing but PSN. So this is first box is primary PAN, primary MNT. But in next, what I make them primary PAN but secondary MNT. And second box I make them secondary PAN and primary MNT. But here Both are primary and both are secondary. It's up to you which type of things you want. But end of the day, we have 7 box. One of them has to play primary role and one of them has to play secondary role, and you can mix match as well. And 5 has to be dedicated for PSN. Done. So now you get the idea. We can deploy ISE as a medium deployment where 7 box play a role. Last but not the least is large deployment. And large deployment, you may have up to 54 total ISE node. 2 node will run PAN and 2 node will run MNT persona again. And up to 50 node you can make them PSN, dedicated PSN personas only. Again, you can place PAN and MNT in a data center and you can freely put these PSN anywhere, in any location, maybe their branches, maybe in the same data center. So this solution is very flexible deployment. You can put some PSN alongside PAN and MNT in the same data center, but you will need a load balancer. Definitely you have 50 to use them properly, and you can put some of the PSN in campuses and branches location. That's why this one you will see most of the time. But if you need scalability, it's better to put load balancer. But it's not important to put them. It's up to you and up to your deployment. So these are the combination. Now coming to one box is primary PAN and primary MNT. Second box is secondary PAN and secondary MNT. And then we have 50 PSN, dedicated PSNs. But again, I can do this way. I can make one box primary PAN for persona and secondary MNT, and the other box makes secondary PAN and primary MNT. Again, the same thing which I told you, mix and match. And definitely in both cases, it's up to you. You have one box to make them entirely primary, either to make a combination of primary and secondary. But you have dedicated 50 PSN for special purpose, because these PSN is very important. These are the important personas which get all the requests and do all the tasks most of the time. So you get the idea. Now large deployment, we have 54 total ISE node. 2 of them is primary persona which will run MNT and PAN. And again, it's up to you. You want to make one entire box primary and another entire box secondary. Either you want to make one box for one persona primary, for second persona secondary, and you can make the other box for one persona secondary and one persona primary. And as I told you, again, there is no concept of primary secondary. These are active PSNs, 50 active PSNs. So these were the 3 different deployment mode, plus we discussed standalone device. And these are the ISE node. 1 box is means standalone, 2 boxes small deployment, 3 to 7 boxes medium, and 5 to 54 we call them large deployment. That's it.